right. We are here live. Hey, everybody. Coach Dan Fitzgerald here. I am the co-founder of Heartbreak Hill Running Company and founder of the Heartbreakers Running Club here for Coach Live Q&A. Heartbreakers are used to this as a benefit of Heartbreaker membership. This one is a very special night. We didn't keep this one just to members since we have an epic guest who's joining us. Many of you, I'm sure, have heard of the Bowerman Track Club. That's why you're logging in so quickly. So we have Bowerman Track Club founder and head coach, Jerry Schumacher, stepping in here in just a moment. He is, if you've ever heard of Chris Zielinski, Matt Teagenkamp, Shalane Flanagan, Emily Infeld, Colleen Quigley, Mariel Hall, Mohamed, Central's over there now, Evan Jager. If you've heard of any of these runners and you followed their careers, the person behind those medals, the coach, is Jerry Schumacher. I see you, Jerry. There he is. There he is.
Hey. Hey, Dan.
Hey, Jerry, how are you?
Good. How are you?
I'm good. It's nice to see you.
Same here.
So thank you so much for, I think you may want to flip your screen there. You're showing up sideways for me.
Okay.
I'm showing up sideways for you.
Let me see.
There we go.
Okay. Let me see how I can do that. Okay. Hold on one second here.
You look good.
Okay. Let me do this. Try this. I gotta try to get my phone to sit up here.
I can say I had my, I had a fountain of youth question for you, Jerry, but you're growing out the beard. You're hiding behind I got a gray beard showing there.
Hey, it's really great. Let me tell you, there's no fountain of youth going on here either. If I could be honest with you, I wish there was, but I seem to feel my age every day.
Well, let's jump into it. We can talk about the current moment to kick things off. I'm here in Boston. I'm at mile 20 of the Boston Marathon course, and at the end of February, I left Boston to go down and watch the Olympic marathon trials. And it's a very rare weekend or a day that one goes to the Olympic trials of the marathon and has some FOMO from race action happening in his hometown. But that was the scenario uniquely that weekend where Bowerman Track Club came down from altitude and basically lit up the track at BU in a way that really put, if everyone wasn't already on notice, certainly in an Olympic year, people were paying close attention. And what went down that night, you had Carissa get the American record, you had Shelby and Colleen, both under the previous American record by your other athlete, Shalane. We had Kate Grace set the 5th fastest 1,000 meters of all time, the facility record at the world's fastest indoor track. We had, what else? We had Ryan Hill, Evan, Lopez, Grant Fisher, all under 740. Lopez doubled back 10 minutes later, and after that 3K to lead 1,100 meters of a 1,500 that went to 3:34. I mean, it was a very clear signal, at least to me. I'm sure it felt the same way to other people, that if you want to get to the Olympics in the United States, you got to get through Bowerman Track Club. Can you talk a little bit about how the team was feeling and that weekend in particular?
Sure. I mean, part of our setup, I think that indoor season was going to be kind of culminating with a big performances in Boston. And we kind of had talked about it early on and had set that up as kind of our general plan. And, we did our typical winter training that we would normally do. We went up to altitude and dropped back down and ran a few races, including the U.S. championships. And then obviously that weekend came along, and it was, I thought everyone was going to run well. There's a reason why we set things up to be fast the way we did. But it was more of a step for us, I think, in terms of, moving through the Olympic year. And I'd like to think that we had better running days ahead of us and in us. And we're probably not going to get to showcase that this particular year, but I think the athletes know that it's in them. They know it's there, and we'll get back to work. We'll navigate these kind of difficult times the way we need to, and then when we're able to, we'll kind of put that shine back on them again. So
yeah, I think a couple of noteworthy things. Obviously, for you guys, it's clearly you're the man with the plan. This isn't your first go around too. You know that it's not like you guys accidentally peaked early. That was just a small window into what's been going on and what is yet to come. So I think the excitement was just so high after that weekend. And obviously we know we're meeting virtually here. A lot has changed. Can you talk a little bit about what you're telling your athletes now and what's going on just in the moment for them?
Yeah, absolutely. So, I mean, obviously everyone's probably in a little bit different place throughout the country, depending on where you live, what's available, what you can do, what you can't do. We're just kind of holding down the fort right now. Athletes are, they mostly meet in pairs. They'll do some running together and an occasional workout together, but it's not quite the same. For me, being an online coach is not how I like to work with athletes. Obviously, we do what we have to do. I mean, if they've logged in to watch this at all, this is the first time they're probably seeing me in I don't know 6 weeks. So, so they're probably shocked by the beard too. But maybe not. Maybe by how much white is in there. But so we've done what we could and what we can do. And I think, based on the feedback I'm getting, it sounds like, we've maintained some pretty good fitness. Again, it's not been a perfect, situation, but it hasn't been for anybody. And like I said, whenever we're kind of really free to get after things again, we'll find a way to put the finishing touches on everything. And they're such a great group. They're highly motivated. They're hardworking. They're disciplined. It really makes my job that much easier. So, I'm very confident that whatever we can do, we will do. And then, when we can get back to normal, we will.
Yeah. I think one of the things you just mentioned is it's such a great group. I think what really comes through, I mean, we can talk about that BU meet as an example of it, but I mean, you see it at every time the Bowerman Track Club shows up together to something. They're really together. There's an incredible amount of support and love that you can see between them for each other and their performances and their willingness to double back and help each other and how hard they're cheering for their teammates. We see it on Instagram. There's really a culture of love and team and support that we see. Can you talk a little bit about how you help foster that? I don't know you well or at all, but I can guess you're a guy that's not going to take much credit for that. But as the guy on top, how do you help foster that and keep it alive?
Well, I think that, the credit definitely goes to the athletes for that. It's a very selfless group. Right. They are just, I think one of the concepts that I've always believed in is maybe it's because where I started as, a collegiate coach, the team concept has always been a big part of everything I've done. And I think we kind of brought, because the very early group was really a large group of them were really the Wisconsin graduates. There was, Tim Nelson, Simon Byru, Chris Zielinski, Matt Tegenkamp, Jonathan Riley, who was a graduate of Stanford, who was actually living in Madison, was part of that initial group and team. And then obviously a young Evan Jagger, who was a very much a rookie, but had some great mentors in some of those graduates from Wisconsin at the time. And I think they grew up on that team situation, and they brought that to their professional training. And every time someone has joined the team and been a part of that, again, it's been, it's hard to find, people it's hard to find a bad nut in the running world, I feel like. And so every athlete we've had has been they've been great people. And so it's been really easy. So, again, that selflessness that they have and that willingness to work for each other and to help each other out and help them achieve, their dreams and goals, I think everyone finds it just as rewarding don't get me wrong, everybody wants to be, on top and be that person who either makes the Olympic team or sets the American record and so forth. But I think they know that if they stick with it and they work really hard, every dog has his day. And it's just part of, you could call it paying dues. You could, paying it forward. It comes in many different ways on the team, but they've all been in the position where they've needed some help to get things done, and they've got that help from teammates, or they provided the help. And I think in both cases, the athletes would say that it's very rewarding to see it happen. I mean, we can just use that 5,000 from last fall that we did, where Mohamed literally, I mean, he went till one lap to go, and in pacing, and that is about as selfless as you can get in an effort in a race. And just to me was, I mean, he really kind of white gloved it for the for those guys behind him. I mean, he just let them roll right through, and they were able to really not worry about a thing until one lap to go. And I don't know if you get much better than that on a 5,000. So, but that was just one example, and that's happened over and over again. I've seen our athletes over and over again line up and take on pacing duties for each other. And then if you were to actually witness practice as well, in our practices, the athletes oftentimes, if we're doing, and I'll just make something up here, but if we're doing 10 times a mile and there's, 10 athletes in the group, they'll all trade off with, I'll lead this one, I'll lead number 2, I'll lead number 6, I'll lead number 7, and they all trade off with leading. And really, it's kind of nice because everybody, gets their turn at the front, and then everyone gets a bunch of time at the back. And the best part is I see it all the time. If an athlete is kind of struggling a little bit near the end of the workout, they're just having a harder day or a rougher day than some of the other ones, someone will step up who's already led one and said, you know what? Yeah, hey, I'm feeling pretty good. I can do it. I'll take the lead on this one, and I'll do it. And so they step up and they're willing to lead if one of their teammates is maybe having a harder time with it. So it's really, it's a great group. I'm just really fortunate to have, I think, good people on our team, and it really shows, I think, in everything they do.
Yeah. I think there are probably 1,000 notes on that 10 by mile as a sample workout. That's one of Jerry's workouts. Let's talk a little bit about coaching philosophy. You're famously hard to find on the internet. We have a good sleuth here in our Connor Cashin, who was able to find 3 pictures where you're the focus. They're great professional shots for a promo. And some people reached out and said, "Where'd you find these?" Our guys are good. But you do have your name in front of one of the most talked about styles of running, the Jerry Miles. We see that. So you're in a lot of Instagram posts in spirit and name as Jerry Miles. Can you talk a little bit about what Jerry Miles are, whether you developed them? I've heard them referred to as Badger Miles. You mentioned obviously your Wisconsin days as an athlete and coach, and can you just give us the lowdown on Jerry Miles, why they're important, and when you do them?
Sure. So really, the mileage system is just a way of kind of counting or adding up training. And it kind of started back at Wisconsin. So when I was a student athlete at Wisconsin myself, we had kind of these different levels of running. And I kind of felt like, even if I ran faster than, we did it at, 7, it would be 7:30 to 8 minute pace would be level 1. And then, 7:30 to 7:30 would level 2, and 6:30 to 7 would level 3. And we'd have to write down the levels and so forth. But I never really ever went faster than 7 minute pace ever. And we just started using that as our baseline. Even if we ran faster, we still counted the run at 7 minute pace. So if we ran, 50 minutes, it was 7 miles. And so when I became a coach, I started looking at things, and I knew athletes would run faster and harder, but I didn't think that was as important. I didn't think the the actual mileage was important, because two people might run together and they might run the exact same run, and one might count it as 8 miles and one might count it as 7 miles. And I'm actually getting different feedback from the athletes that way. So instead, I thought it was better if all the feedback I got was based on minutes, and you could equate minutes to mileage. And it's easy for me to look at a number. It's better than seeing, I ran 10,000 minutes or whatever it might be. It was easier to see, oh, I ran 70 miles this week. And so essentially it became a minute-based system that was equated to mileage, which told me that anyone who ran 70 miles, if anyone ran 70 miles for the week, it told me that if two people ran 70 miles for the week, it told me they ran the same amount of minutes for the week. And if someone ran 77 miles for the week, I knew they ran an extra 50 minutes that week, because then those people that ran 70 miles. So it just gave me a metric in minutes. But it was easier to look at a small number like mileage, and everyone likes to add it up as mileage. So I started having all the athletes just, the men count everything as 7-minute pace. The women really get ripped off and they count everything as 8-minute pace. And they tell me that all the time. So, but the men will say they get ripped off as well. So, so essentially, everyone's getting ripped off in this system on their mileage.
Yeah.
But essentially, it's really providing a minute-based metric for me to look at and know how much everybody's been training throughout the week.
So are Jerry miles useless if Jerry's not evaluating them?
Well, first of all, I don't know why they're called Jerry miles. I think maybe it's because it started out as Badger miles because it was Wisconsin thing, and then athletes from other schools didn't want to call them Badger miles because we got Seminoles and Cardinal, and we got all the athletes from all over, the Lumberjacks, and so we got athletes coming from all over the place and they don't want to reference anything as Badgers because that wasn't their place. So I think it became Jerry miles, but we'll live with that.
I remember I had brain farted. Shalane had posted a picture of her log a couple of years back, and I remember looking at the mileage on the easy days and just looking at it, and I texted Coach Bennett and I said, is Shalane really running all of these miles at 8-minute pace? I don't think Shalane could even run 8-minute pace if she tried. I'd be shocked if she could do that. I can't imagine.
Dan, you're not making things
Badger miles.
Dan, you're not making things better for me here. Like, I'm gonna get more complaints at practice now.
Let's talk about Shalane a second as the original Bowerman babe. There was that New York Times article last year. You may have seen just about the Shalane effect, they called it, and the level of excellence she brought as the person she is, and elevating the other women around her and the team at large. Can you talk about her specifically in that culture, and then how it feels to have her as a co-coach now?
Yeah. So the Shalane effect was definitely that's a real thing. I mean, and I think you see a lot of great athletes do this, especially in team sports. Athletes really tend to be good athletes really help elevate the game of the others around them. And it takes a highly competitive, motivated, driven, selfless athlete to be able to do that, because you can't always be the one with the ball in your hands. And I think Shalane kind of fit all of those characteristics, and she was obviously extremely talented and a great athlete on her own, but it brought her a lot of, I think, joy and just a sense of accomplishment when others around her performed at a high level. And she knew that, hey, I can help athletes, even if it's, to my detriment. I can help athletes become better and make teams and help them become better athletes. And most of the time, I think she would argue that it was never to her detriment. It always made her better. Right. And I think that's really the case. I think if people are objective about it, and again, not just in running, but in all sports, right. If you can find a way to help improve the athletes around you, you're probably making yourself better. And you don't maybe see those small little things, but you are. And, again, it was a very real thing. If you were to look at the athletes that, that's centered around Shalane and everything that in her career and that trained with her and worked with her, it's an incredible group, and their accomplishments are outstanding. And, it's great to see. And then, she did that as an athlete. And, I knew this day was coming, that I knew the day would come eventually where she would retire. And that was, that's the hardest part for, I think, any athlete. You can continue to be an athlete, for a long time in your life, just about,
Right.
a long time. At the various levels, at this particular level, though, there is a shelf life to this level. And
Right.
we knew that was going to happen at some point, but Shalane's been such a great ambassador for Nike and a great ambassador for the sport. It would be crazy not to, have her in the sport. And, believe it or not, Shalane actually came to me with this idea, thinking that, hey, at some point I would really like to do this. I really enjoy our team. I like being around them. I love helping out. If there's any way that I can help, be a part of this. And of course, so there were some conversations with Nike, and Nike they loved the idea, that they were fully on board with it. And it was just a matter as to when it would eventually happen. And nobody really knew that because, that the ball was in Shalane's hands. It was in her court for that.
Right.
And so we just proceeded, with, hey, we're training as a high level professional athlete. And then, when the day comes and you're going to take a step back from that, there's a new role for you. And whenever that is, we'll, welcome it with open arms. And again, I think she's been fantastic. And again, not just as an athlete and a role model on the team, but now in her coaching roles, she's been great.
Cool. One of the things, one of the occasions for our chat is the new, the Nike Pegasus 37 recently came out, which is a favorite among the Heartbreakers. You see it on the feet of a lot of your athletes.
Oh yeah, it's a favorite.
Could you talk about just when your athletes are wearing a standard trainer, and then how many different pairs of shoes they might be in during the week? Like how often are they switching into the next percent? Are they doing all their track intervals and spikes? How do you use footwear as a tool from a coaching standpoint?
Sure. So obviously, we're very fortunate to be associated with Nike. So the athletes are never in need of a type of shoe,
right,
for the various types of training that we might be doing on any particular given day. The Nike Pegasus, as you pointed out, is definitely a favorite amongst our team because the majority of the time that's our training run shoe. So that's a recovery day shoe. It's a everyday shoe. Warm-up shoe. They'll wear that for, if an athlete is running 100 miles a week, they'll run that for the majority of those miles throughout the week. So that'll be their main daily shoe. And again, a large majority of our team wears the Pegasus, and it's been a favorite. And it's probably why it's been around so ever in 37 iterations. Right. And, so no doubt about it. It's a great shoe, but on any other given day, depending on if we're working out on the grass, we might use something that the athletes call a splat, which is a flat that's been converted over with a spike plate on the front to prevent the slipping and maybe the muddy conditions that we may see in Oregon and working out on real grass. If we're on the track, they may use flats. They may use the next percents. They may use the spikes. It just depends on the type of workout and what we may be doing. And again, if we're doing a long road run, a long run, and we're heading out and it'll be 20 miles on the roads on a particular day, that'll be a different type of shoe. And again, I don't dictate what shoes a particular athlete needs to wear. They have, a history with shoes that they like and that really work for them and that they feel really comfortable in. And they kind of rotate through those based on the workouts that we're doing. And although a lot of athletes there's a lot of overlap, there are some athletes that, hey, I love wearing this when we're, on the turf or on the grass, and I love this shoe on the roads. And they may be the only person in one type of shoe, and, the rest of the team might be in another shoe. But we do have an array of different shoes that we go through and use. And it's just, it just makes I think the training that much more fun, especially, a lot of times they'll pull out and, hey, I get to put my spikes on today, or I'm wearing this today, I'm wearing that today. And they enjoy doing that. So, so we do rotate through a lot of different shoes. The athletes will tell you that my message to them the night before is always, giving workout times and instructions and warm up and et cetera, et cetera, et cetera, training groups or whatever. And often it says, please bring all appropriate footwear because, you know, a lot of times, you know, an athlete comes in and it's like, oh, I didn't think we were doing that today, so I didn't bring these. And so I started adding that to my, you know, my messages to them the night before the workouts. And it's now become kind of, I think, a running joke because I hear athletes say that all the time. So I'm sure they're making fun of me behind closed doors, which is okay. I can deal with that. But
hey, that's just good coaching. That's coach's coach. I told you to bring all your shoes. Don't tell me you don't have the shoe that you need right now.
Don't tell me you don't have. I will say this though. You know, there was one time before it was before the Boston Marathon, and it was Shalane was running, and she showed up at the track, and I think I said, you know, the usual, bring all appropriate footwear, and you know, be prepared for, you know, we probably want to do this one in, you know, the shoe that you're going to be wearing. And I'm not even kidding. She showed up with like 8 different pairs of shoes. And I was like, I was really confused. I was like, are you kidding me? Like, you haven't decided on? She's like, no, they're all very similar. I'm just trying to decide on the color now. And I was like, oh. So color did matter in the preparing for the big race. So, which is great.
Hey, you gotta look fly if you want to fly, right?
You know what? I've heard that many times in my own little camp here. You know, look good, feel good, and run good or something.
Yeah.
Something like that.
It's all right. No English teachers are here.
Yeah, exactly.
Could you talk about, say we're in the heat of the season or early season? What's a week of a Bowerman Track Club athlete look like in terms of, you know, workout density? Are they working out twice a week? Are they how often are they going to the gym? How many runs are they doing?
Yeah.
You know, what's a typical week look like for a BTC athlete?
So we have a system that, you know, I say it changes, you know, quite a bit depending on the time of year. So sometimes we'll have a 7-day cycle where, and the cycle always ends. That cycle will end with a long run. So sometimes we'll do 7 days, sometimes we'll do 10 days, sometimes we'll do 12 days. And so in times of the year where the long run's just not as important, it may be spaced out 12 days, and then there'll be workouts scattered within those, in between those other 11 days. There'll be a cycle of workouts. And sometimes it might be over 10 days, sometimes it might be over 7 days. It's always easiest to kind of describe maybe what 7 days looks like, because it's just more simple and it's based on a week. So, you know, if I was to say kind of what our training cycle may look like, it'll be a long run on Sunday, let's say, right. Or let's start with Monday as being the first day of the week. And Monday may be a recovery day. And then Tuesday may be a workout day. And then Wednesday, Thursday, maybe recovery. Friday, maybe a workout day. Saturday, recovery. Sunday, long run. So you essentially see there'll be 2 workouts in there, Tuesday and Friday, with a long run that can kind of double back either as kind of more of a how you feel kind of day for a long run, or it could be kind of a more structured effort depending on what we want to get after and what we want to get out of that long run, or even out of the week based on the week. And if the week wasn't as high a quality, a lot of moderate running workouts, then the long run can have a little bit of bite to it. And if it was a high quality week and we had good training, for whatever reason, really, you know, we just really got after it a little bit, then the long run will take a step back and just be a little bit easier.
Yeah. Marielle Hall mentioned when we hosted her at at one of our Chicago events for Chicago Marathon weekend, that within your workouts, you have 3 different goals: pace workouts, speed workouts, and strength workouts. Could you give us some examples of those? Maybe one example of each, and don't water it down for the audience. Kill them on track tomorrow.
Yeah, I can definitely do that. So, and again, a lot of it depends on the time of year. You know, some in the fall, it's a lot of general training and a lot of what I would call kind of massage work until we're ready. It's fitness work, it's fitness building and conditioning work, and just getting us ready for that really, you know, that hard kick in the pants type of stuff that we get to during the more competitive times of year. But if I was to describe a strength workout, you know, for us, a strength workout will be probably, either it'll be long intervals with short recovery. Maybe it'll be 5 times a 2 mile with 90 seconds rest. And maybe it's 4 times a 2 mile, but it'll be a set of volume. And depending on the athlete, they may run anywhere between 6 and 10 miles worth of work. Very short recovery. And, we'll pick a pace that we think is appropriate for that workout and that time of year, and try to maximize, the amount we get out of. Now, we don't want that session to necessarily crush them, and so that they can't do another workout the rest of the week. So it'll be just dialed back enough, but enough where they get that stimulus that we're looking for, and also doesn't put them over the edge for the rest of the week, or even for the entire training block. Right. And then, and that can change throughout the seasons. Like I said, that can change. Even if we still do that workout during the competitive time of year, it may get more watered down, so that we really have the emphasis on a different type of workout. But in the fall, that strength workout is our most important one. So we get after that one a little bit more in the fall and winter than we do during maybe the highly competitive times of year. And then the other workout would be kind of a speed session. We don't ever want to stray too far from it, but we also, it's not in the fall, being able to rip, fast hundreds and 200s really isn't the most important thing for us. When, in the summertime is when we want to be kind of maximizing that. But at the same time, we don't want to avoid it and say, oh, since it's not important, we're not going to do it at all. So we just touch base with that a little bit again. And we do a little bit of work like that. And again, it's more watered down perhaps in the fall than it will be in the spring, just vice versa to the strength workout, where the strength workout is more watered down in the spring than it is in the fall. But, it'll be something that we always want to kind of keep close to us and do. And those speed workouts can vary. They can be, we'll try to have some really high intense, maybe a couple 400s, and then some high end 150s, and maybe a couple more 400s, something like that. And the thing that I definitely do is we mix a lot of the workouts up. Like, again, I don't think there's any magic in the specific workout we do. It could be hard hundreds with, 300s. It could be a set of just 300s. It could be a set of just 400s or just 200s, or it could be a mix of everything. And it could be 400, 300, 200, 100 times 2. Right. It's a huge mixed bag of things. And we try to keep it fresh and really keep it, fun for the athletes. It's like, oh, I haven't done this before. Or if I did it a couple of years ago. Or I really don't look back, and I don't try to design the season around what we've done in the past. I try to keep it where I'm in tune with what the athletes are doing and what they're capable of doing, and kind of watching them and how they handle it and how they perform. And it kind of dictates what we may do the following week as well. But that would be kind of like our speed type of session. And then our specific work is just designed around, that's really in those competitive times of year. And it depends on the athlete, and it depends on the event they're running. And, specific work could be, like for a 5,000 meter runner might be 4 times a 1,200, and we'll do it at race pace, and take a 3-minute break or something, and we'll do that as well. But that doesn't, we really don't get into that real specific work, except for a couple times a year, like during the competitive times when we need to do that work. And a lot of times athletes will probably race more than our club does, and a lot of the athletes will get that specific work in from racing. We'll a lot of times get it in just in those workouts, and we have the kind of the meat and potatoes of a crew to get it done. So practices can sometimes feel, a lot of times I've had athletes say, man, those workouts are harder than the races. So we get the work in that maybe other athletes are getting in from more frequent racing. And for whatever reason, it's just not working into our calendar, or how we're training, or our altitude camp, or whatever it might be. It's just not working in, and we can't get away for the race. So we'll get it in through training. Yeah.
How important is strength training in your group? You have a strong looking group. Certainly they don't look like a group that misses the weight room or is looking to be skinny fast. They look strong fast. And can you talk about the importance of weight training? And everyone always wants to know, do they do it before they run, after they run? How many times a week are they in the gym? Are they lifting heavy? And just generally, what does weight training mean to BTC?
Our strength coach and one of our coaches, the guy who's in charge of the strength, I should say, but he's also a big part of everything we do in our club is Pascal Dobert. And Pascal was an old teammate of mine at Wisconsin, and he was a 2000 Olympian in the steeplechase. He actually won the Olympic trials in 2000. He was a great steeplechaser for America, 3-time U.S. champion, NCAA champion. I mean, he was a great runner when we were there. And Pascal and I think, have always really connected really well out on the athletic field. And during right after he retired from professional running, I was coaching at Wisconsin, and he had come back, and he knew the steeple really well, and he was really I think a really solid tactician when it came to hurdling. And he also brought this strength element to our team. And he started, he kind of put him in charge of helping our team do all of our conditioning, core strength work. And I immediately noticed an impact. And when you train in Wisconsin in the wintertime, there's all slippery, icy roads. And I just noticed that we had a few more injuries always in the wintertime than we would any other time of year. It was just something I came to accept because of the winter and so forth. And I noticed right away that not only were our injuries down during the normal times of the year, but we had less injuries in the wintertime too. And I don't know, I can't probably describe what it exactly is. It's just, I think our overall conditioning and fitness was better with the strength and conditioning that Pascal was having our Wisconsin athletes do. And it was just great stuff. So when the opportunity presented itself to have him be a part of the Bowerman staff and help the professional athletes, it was just way too hard to pass up, because here I'm getting a really experienced strength and conditioning coach who knows his way around those elements. And then on top of that, someone who understands what a 100-mile week does to your body. He understands what 10 times a mile does to your body. So he can adjust on as needed and necessary in the weight room to adjust for the type of training we're doing during a particular cycle, during the type of week. He's an athlete who competed at the highest level. He gets it he gets running. And the fact that he gets running and can bring all these other strength elements to our program and team has just been an invaluable resource for us. And so Pascal's definitely in charge of all of that. He has complete autonomy over everything we do in the weight room. He puts them in there about 3 times a week, and has a very I don't want to say it's a dynamic program that doesn't, it's never he doesn't just there's a lot of routine to some of the exercises, but they're always rotating and fluctuating. And because you do want to continue to work on various areas when you go in the weight room, and you want all those areas to get stronger. But at some point, it's like anything. Your body adapts to that stress, and you got to find a way to stress it slightly differently. And that's what he has been great about doing. And he finds a way to stress all of those muscle groups and everything that you wanted to be strong and conditioned as an athlete. He finds a way to stress those in different ways on a continuous basis, so that we're always remaining kind of strong and not, and it can get redundant if you just do the same thing over and over and over again. He finds a way to, I think, challenge the athletes, make it fun, and keep it fresh at the same time. So he's really been our guy then. He's been phenomenal with it.
That's awesome. Who's your favorite Bowerman athlete on Instagram?
I can't answer that because I don't have Instagram.
Do you have any thoughts on the koala challenge?
Wait a minute, are you doing this on purpose to me, or is this I feel like I'm in trouble. I don't even know what that is.
Oh, okay, that's you don't really want to. It's one of those. That one's a little cringy, so you don't even need to get into it. You can ask your athletes. Who's your favorite athlete outside of running?
Outside of running, okay. Outside of running, that's a tough one. Okay, I don't know if I enjoy watching. It's more of a profile of an athlete, and it's easy to pick the superstars in any sport, probably because they're so high profile and they seem to have those attributes. But those highly competitive, really driven, those that you can feel the emotion coming out when they're playing the game and they're doing the game, or maybe sometimes it's after, because, in running, you can't really show that emotion when you're 4K into a hard 5K, but it's, you see it afterwards, and and I think athletes who show that, and I think I connect with that a lot, and I feel that, and I think that's what all of us really love, because that's probably why, some athletes are, not only they're great, but they exhibit those, and that's why they're so media friendly, and they're constantly at the attention of us. So I don't know that I could just pick one, but it's definitely the athletes that put their heart and soul into it, and you feel it while they're competing or after they're competing, and it brings out that, like, that response that you want everyone to feel, and everyone can't feel that. It's a matter of finding that inside yourself and bringing it out. But those athletes put it on display for us on the the big screen, and I love to see that. And I would say, a lot of our Bowerman athletes, I feel that from them, and it really it makes it really exciting to work with them, because I see what they do day in and day out, and all the hard work. And then when I see something really come together for one of them or a bunch of them, it just, it makes that whole journey really real. And you don't get to live the journey with, I guess we are with Michael Jordan right now, but most of the time you don't get to live that journey with those athletes. You just see them on center stage, and but you can feel it still in their emotions and how they play, and everything that they do out on the court or on the field. You can feel that. But with athletes in our sport, and that I get to work with, I get to see it from them, in the journey day in and day out, but also when they are on the big stage and they do something really special. You can just feel that emotion in them, and it makes it just, it's a wonderful feeling. So I would say any athlete that really has those qualities.
I would that would be a great ending. I have more questions, but that is the perfect coach. Who wouldn't want to be coached by somebody who has that answer? An athlete that gives you an emotion. I think that's what makes a coach want to coach too, is seeing that and seeing them put it out there. Is there a coach in your life that inspired you to want to do this? You gave a great reason why. Looking at that, wanting to guide that would be a great example. But was there a coach or person who exemplified what you hope to be? Or
so obviously I get a lot of training ideas and training theory, I guess, from reading books of all the great coaches, et cetera, that have come before. And I think, early on, I learned that there's probably not a lot of secrets in training in the sport, and there really is no reason to have secrets in training. It's more of taking things that there's kind of that concrete science part of training, and then there's that artistic part of training. And I think combining the two with, the coach's personality is what I think hopefully leads to success. And I think, looking back in my life, I think, and this is going to be a little bit longer answer than you may want, but
that's okay.
It's I had a sixth grade there's three coaches in particular, because as much as I could say, like, following, the things that John McDonald did, or Bill Bowerman, some of these legends in the sport, and looking at what they did through reading books and so forth, has been very motivating and exciting to read about. Really, the ones who have the most impact on you are probably the ones who were in contact in your own personal life. And so, real quickly, I had a sixth grade basketball coach who, when I was in fifth grade, now this is Catholic League basketball, so I'm gonna keep this very PG, of course. But when we were in fifth grade, all we heard, and back then, I don't even know how it works today necessarily, but sometimes I think coaches move with their team from fifth grade to sixth grade to seventh grade to eighth grade and so forth. I think coaches keep coaching that same group all the way through. Back then, our coaches weren't like that. So the sixth grade coach was the sixth grade coach every year, and he just took a new group of kids in and coached them in sixth grade, and then they would move on to seventh grade, and the fifth graders would move up to him. So when I was in fifth grade, the sixth graders were like, "You guys are in so much trouble next year. You have no idea what it's like. Like, this guy's insane and he's crazy," and I gotta say, he was you know, it was my first experience with, I think, somebody who was just flat out competitive crazy. And I mean, and honestly, I think some people might have been intimidated by it and, maybe didn't like the experience. I don't know what it was. I loved it. Like, I mean, I had this guy who, I mean, you would have thought some of our halftime speeches, it was game 7 of the NBA finals. And we were down by 1. And it was like, I mean, the intensity in the locker room and how it was throwing clipboards and just, it was crazy. It was craziness. And I'm just going to be honest. I loved every minute of it. And then the best part about it was that after the game, whether we won or lost by 20, won or lost by 1, it was high fives around. And hey guys, there was an ice cream place about a block down the street from the school we played at. And it was, hey, I got ice creams on me, guys. And everyone would just walk down to the ice cream shop and he'd buy all the kids on the team ice cream. And we didn't even talk about the game after that. It was just talking about nonsense. But practice and games were intense. And it was my first real experience with, this guy, I didn't think anyone would want to win more than me because I'm on the team. But this guy's like, he may want to win more than all of us. Like, he's insane. and I loved it. And then obviously my next experience with a coach that was in running, and it was my high school coach. And for most of us, that's probably our first experience with a running coach, I guess.
Right.
And my high school coach was, the difficult task of taking, a bunch of kids who played ball sports their whole life, and for whatever reason are showing up on day 1 for cross country, like me, being 5'1" and 90 pounds. There wasn't a whole lot I was going to be able to do in high school. And it was pretty obvious that, I was probably the smallest kid in the school between the boys and the girls. So I was coming in really small, and there was no way any, football wasn't going to work. It was not going to happen. And so I showed up for cross country. My parents encouraged me to do it. They're like, you run around like a crazy person all the time, and, I'm sure you'll be good at running. And if you really want to play a sport, and I was a really competitive kid and I really wanted to do it. So I showed up on day 1. So here's a guy who had all the qualities of my 6th grade basketball coach, but he had the task of trying to find a way to make running. How is he going to get this 90-pound kid to come back out tomorrow? Like so he had to bring this really personality to the game and to practice every day. So, I remember my first practice, we went on and ran 7 miles, and by, for someone who had never run a step really other than up and down basketball courts or soccer fields or whatever, that was a long way. Yeah. And so, but there was something about that first day of practice and his personality that I really liked. And I showed up on day 2, even though I could barely walk down the stairs that day. I showed up on day 2, and then day 3 and day 4. And he just had this unique gift to make running, the experience of running, really, really enjoyable until I found that enjoyment all by myself. And it does take time because let's be honest, running's hard. It's tough. It's not easy. It's hard. But when you find it, when you stick with it long enough, you find that love and that running for it. And then it's like you would have had to pry me away from practice. I didn't want to miss practice. There was no way I wanted to miss practice ever. Right. And so I definitely kind of credit my high school coach for kind of bringing some of those elements to maybe some of the things that I hopefully bring to the team. And then, of course, my college coach at Wisconsin was probably the biggest variable, because here was someone who just, I was really green coming in. I didn't really, to be honest with you, I entered college and I didn't know who Prefontaine was. And so I remember
I was in a similar boat. Yeah.
Yeah. So, I remember sitting in practice one day and a bunch of people were talking about this guy, and I didn't want to say anything because I was like, I don't know who they're even talking about. and I don't know who this is, but they're raving about it. I knew really nothing about the sport, but he had, again, those intense qualities. He wanted to win, very competitive person, but he also knew the sport just backwards and forwards, and his educational piece. And the ability to kind of paint and bring into focus the picture, the place that we wanted to be and where we wanted to go, not only individually, but as a team. He was just masterful at that. And I really feel like there was somewhere along the way in my collegiate journey as a student athlete that, I looked over at him and said, I hope one day I can do what he's doing and be as good as he is at doing it. And so I couldn't tell you exactly when it happened. People have asked me and I've made a joke out of it before where I said it was, I was 8 miles into a 10-mile tempo run and he was on the bike and I realized that's the job I want to have. But in truth, it was more than just that. It was there was a lot of moments along the way where I realized, like, really, being able to just be one of the spokes in the wheel and contributing to kind of that success and the journey and the emotion that we just talked about before. I think really all of those things are the things that really, those three individuals kind of really, I think, brought it. They bring a lot of hopefully what I bring to practice and inspired me to do a lot of the things the way I do them probably. So
yeah, that's fun. And I think about coaching similarly, where you might get the question too. People want to ask me about my running, and I don't really care about my running at all right now. I do it. It's what I like to do for fitness. But what really fires me up about running is coaching and being around my athletes and just having fun that way. That's the dream now. I'm just having fun.
Absolutely. Like, I don't know. I mean, I feel like, every dog has his day, and I feel like maybe we had our day with that, and it's not going to stop us from going out and trying to hammer those runs out. And, I'll be honest. I'll still tell you, my favorite thing in the whole world to do before any practice starts is I love to hammer out 10 miles. If I could hammer 10 miles, it's like a great day. But the fact is, it only gets better when I go to practice after that 10-mile run. Again, it's not about, again, I think the successes we've had in the past, or we try to have now, everything is relative based on where we are in our own, personal journey with running and life. Right. But there is nothing better than helping other people get from point A to point B and experience the same emotions and joy and things that we got out of running. Again, whatever level it is, there's nothing better than that. It's just, that's the name of the game there.
Yeah. The fun thing about those hammering 10 miles, one of the things I find freeing is I don't need to do it responsibly anymore. My running doesn't matter. So you can hammer more days. You don't have to protect anything.
Dan,
no races on the line.
Dan, you and I have a lot in common. It's I don't know, unfortunately, I'm to the point where my age, it's working against me now, this strategy of mine where I feel like I can do whatever I want to do with it. More times than not, I err because I just say, I don't have to be responsible. I can run as hard as I want. And the next day is really disastrous. And then I hammer again. And eventually, what really is bad about it though, is I get myself into so much trouble. It's not a good thing. And my team they'll just shake their head about it because they see me limping around most of the time. And I'm just, it's really, as a coach, it's always do as I say, not as I do. So
I'm going to say next time people bring up Jerry Miles, I'm going to say, I don't do Jerry Miles. I run like Jerry.
Yeah. I don't know if that's a good thing.
All right, I got a couple of fun questions to finish us off here.
Sure.
What's your favorite recipe from Run Fast, Eat Slow, or Run Fast, Cook Fast, Eat Slow?
Well, my new one. So my family definitely cooks from the book all the time. My daughter is, I think she's in her freshman year of college, and I think she and her roommates do. I think they religiously cook from the book. I got to be honest. My favorite thing is something that's new that's coming out that I got to kind of taste test, and it's this muffin. So I don't know if I'm allowed to even like.
Oh,
say anything about it, but there's this muffin, and it's got lemon and poppy seed in it, and it's really, really good. And there's also another special muffin that's in there that I really like, but I'm not going to talk about that one. But this one in particular is really, really tasty. And again, I don't know how much I can say or shouldn't be saying, but I got to taste test a few of these things, and then I don't know how my daughter got the recipe from Shalane, but she did, and she made them here at home, and they're really good. So that's probably my favorite thing that I've had out of all the recipes. So
I'm sure you know that the feet of your athletes get out there on the internet pretty often for their top secret shoes that they're flying around in practice or on world-class meets. And now you're going to be the target of food blog secret rumors of secret recipes. So you got a whole new corner of the internet alike, Jerry. I got a question here from a young man named Chris Derrick. What brings you more joy, watching the team fly in the track in summer practices when they're super fit, or watching them suffer in fall season grass sessions?
This would be, if this is the Chris Derrick, I think it is.
It's that one.
There is a real sense of satisfaction to those soul crushing, long strength workouts that we do in the fall, when I can just feel the fitness building and building and building. And those can sometimes get really ugly, and I'm aware of that. There's something very satisfying in that. But I'll be honest, there might not be anything like a finely tuned machine, and watching it float and execute, at its highest level. There's just something beautiful about that. And I would probably take that, despite enjoying the process of getting to that point. I would probably take that really, really highly tuned instrument and just, listening to it. It's and watching it go. It's that there's nothing better than that, probably.
Well, the clearest thing about that answer is both.
Yeah. Okay, both.
Love watching them suffer and love watching them fly.
Yeah, both. We can go with that.
All right, rapid fire here. Coffee or tea? Or neither?
I got to be honest, neither. Yeah.
All right.
Yeah, neither. I don't drink either.
Star Wars or Spaceballs?
Boy, I'm going to be bad at this game with you. I guess I'm going to have to say neither.
Wow. Okay. As a famous Jerry Seinfeld or Jerry Springer?
Oh, Jerry Seinfeld.
Okay.
Yeah, Jerry Seinfeld for sure.
Fast braid Friday or French bread Friday?
You know what? I follow that a little bit because I hear the little bits and pieces about it. But since I'm not on Instagram, and I think is that an Instagram thing, right? Or no?
Yes.
Okay. I think I don't even know if I can answer that one. I mean, yeah, I don't even know if I can answer that because I don't know enough about either of them. I think one is doing braids on Fridays for workouts and races and to look good, feel good type of deal. And the other one was kind of trolling the fast braid and
that's my understanding.
Yeah, having fun with their teammates, and I think that got a lot of humor and a lot of laughs, and I think it was all great. So I don't know if I can pick one or the other, but it sounds like they were both a lot of fun.
Okay, I like that answer. Last one, Shelby or Centro?
Okay. I mean, you want me to pick between athletes here? Let's see here. Central causes me. See all this gray down here? Like this. This might all be Centro, and Shelby causes very little stress, if any, ever. So depending on the mood, if I want high stress, I'm gonna pick Centro. If I want the low stress day, it's Shelby. Shelby is they're like polar opposites when it comes to that.